how it goes. But again, going right, picking right back up where we left off at, which was in Genesis. Um, Picking up where we left off at in that first book of the Bible. All right, we'll go there. Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2 have a lot of jewels. I think they get overlooked by people because it just seems like, oh, this happened, but there's a lot of information in between the words that once you uncover them, you're able to really see a little more, see things a little more clearly. Okay. So again, we're dealing with family basics. I still didn't get those notes from anybody. I think somebody has them on my side of the world over here too. So we'll see how everything plays out. All right, but for right now, we're gonna just go into it. We talked about Adam. We talked about the physical order of the universe. We went into Isaiah chapter 45 and 12 and Psalms 8 and 3, Wisdom of Solomon 7:26. We talked about how Hamashiach was the central orchestrator, and we went into Colossians chapter 1 to show that, verses 15 through 17, that the spirit of Hamashiach didn't just come on the scene all of a sudden. That the spirit of Hamashiach had already been with the Father from creation. All right, so he'd already been there. We talked about the creation and the function of the family of Adam. All right, the function of the family of Adam. He was given a specific charge by the Most High. We went over that, and we went over the point that the Most High had told him. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was that the Most High Yahweh, that he told the family of Adam, right, to rule, multiply, subdue, and to eat and what not to eat, things of that nature. That's in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 through 29. Also in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 28 through 30. All right. We also went into Zechariah chapter 5, verse 8 through 10. All right. And the Most High's order that he gave to everybody in the universe hasn't changed. We still have the same, because this is something that was given to Adam. We still have the same expectations and regulations on what to do and how to do it from Yahweh. But the way we go about it has changed severely because of our sins. We have murder, jealousy, contention, sedition, and so many other things that crept in through sin, but through Hamashiach and through Yahweh, through Hamashiach's sacrifice for our sins, and through Yahweh showing Moses the way to stay out of sin. We don't have to really worry about these things once we come into Hamashiach as much as we would. We talked about also the female angels, showing you the balance in the universe is always male and female. And we showed how the female angels had wings, and we showed that they were lifting up the ephah, and they were sent on a mission by Yahweh. So this sets up the balance of male and female always being here with us before we were put on the earth. All right, so the Most High's always had female entities working with him also. And then, of course, you went into how wisdom herself, as we all know, is a female entity. So that's a very important aspect of the universal balance of things that we can't overlook. We talked about how our essential nature, fulfilling nature from Yahweh is to be an agrarian, all right, to deal with the dirt, to deal with growing things from the ground. And this is shown in Genesis chapter 2, verses 15 through 17, with the vocation and the directions that Yahweh gave to Adam. And then he brought them together to work together, and he put Adam in the garden or the orchard to take care of everything. All right, to dress it, to keep it. Now that keeping, we saw, is also a form of protection. That word is shamar, to protect, guard, or keep safe. That part of man's job is to guard, protect, and keep Yahweh's creation safe. And we talked about how a lot of times, like the Gadites, the North American Indians, are a major tribe that has kept this aspect of Adam's Adam's initial his initial duties assigned to him by Yahweh. And we talked about how the tree was given to Adam. He couldn't eat from the tree, and that Yahweh created Eve to be a helper to help him. All right. And Adam named, of course, all of the creatures. And Yahweh, we know that part of the side effects of the tree was the tree gave us a small option in a world full of good choices. But the tree gave us a small evil option in the world good of, good choices. Like we had so many actual trees that we could eat from. And Yahweh said, this tree, I don't want you to eat from this tree. And man, of course, said through his woman, listening to his woman, said, I'm going to listen to her, not you, Yahweh. I'm going to eat from this tree. And we discarded all of the other major options. And that shows us that it's always inherently and naturally easier for you to do good than to do bad. You can just do good. It's easier just to do good, just to do the right thing from the front. If you don't do the right thing from the front, your spirit, mind, body, emotions, reactions, you're going to have like a negative outcome. You're going to have to push through negativity to get back onto the positive side of things. Now in Genesis 2:18, of course, Yahweh said, it is not good for man to be alone. Let us make him a helper corresponding to him. All right. So Yahweh said, I'm gonna make a woman that's gonna correspond to him. And then we see Adam named all of the creatures. And very important point, Genesis chapter 2, verse 20. And Adam gave names to all the cattle and to all the birds of the sky and to all the animals of the field. But for Adam, there was not found a helper like him. So Eve's mission is to help Adam in his primary mission. And his primary mission was to till and keep the soil. And he gave a lot of other directions in Genesis chapter 1, which was like, be fruitful, multiply, subdue the earth, and also to eat. All right. But also to protect in that subduing of the earth, to also protect, subdue the earth, meaning like don't let things run all wild. Right. Things started to grow and things started to reach out of their own area. And you got vines and stuff like that, and the fruit trees and seeds are going to be everywhere, and so on and so forth. So from the birds, and mostly you have like a lot of just growth, grapes and passion fruit and other types of things just grow. So Adam was supposed to subdue all of those things. Okay. So then we got into some heavy duty analysis of the situations, and we looked into Eve was the one that started the sin through taking the fruit from the serpent, partaking of it, and then telling Adam, and then Adam partook of the fruit. And then their eyes were open, and then they hid from Yahweh. Instead of going to Yahweh saying, hey, I got a problem, I need some help, he did not give Yahweh voluntary, full disclosure. So it's very important to give full disclosure when you're dealing with people so they know how to operate with you. All right. But when you're dealing with the Spirit of the Most High, somebody may not tell you something, but you can still kind of understand and see what's going on to make a conclusion about the situation just based on the activity and your experiences, in life. You can say, oh, well, no, he's definitely on, heroin or methadone. He's on something, you can tell. Right? He definitely has some fighting experience. He definitely was trained professionally to fight, even if you don't get that disclosure. But in Adam's case, Adam didn't give Yahweh full disclosure. And as a result of that, Yahweh had to come to him, and Adam is telling him all these reasons. The woman did this, and now I know this. Okay, well, if you did wrong, why didn't you come and tell me that you messed up, son? So always go to the Most High. A lot of people say, well, I want to do X, Y, Z before I go to Yahweh. Now, when you down at your lowest, when you are as low as you think you can go, still keep reaching for your Father. Don't act like it's not a reality. If you are at your lowest, Satan can come in and destroy you with thoughts and evil demons, evil messengers being sent to your brain to tell you to do something or to think some things that are evil, wicked, and against the Most High. And oftentimes, these extreme choices are things that you can't come back from. You can't come back from these things. So that's why even when you're at your lowest, keep Yahweh. I don't care if you out there doing the most evilest thing. I don't care if a brother starts cross-dressing and working at a transvestite strip club. Still reach out to the Most High. You may think it's in vain. But you're still trying to maintain a line of communication, with your Father. You're not going to be able to receive the call if you cut the phone off, if you take the battery out. You're not going to get that call, so still maintain that relationship. Knowing you dead wrong, still keep that line of communication open to your Father. Because when you shut it down, Satan starts coming for you even harder because now he done cut you off from the source of life of the universe. All right. So, the Most High said it's not good for a man to be alone. And we read Genesis chapter 2, verse 18 through 24. It's good for a man to have a woman. But then we also, I don't think that we went to it. I wanted to go into it, but very important scripture here. And you're not going to see this in the English, or I don't think they make a distinction in the Hebrew, but it's a very strong distinction in the Greek. Paul is talking about having a wife and a man being with a woman in 1 Corinthians chapter 7. I want to stop there real quick. 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Paul going on for what Yahweh said, that it's not good that the man is alone, but a man on a high level spiritual mission can be alone. And we see that in the Bible. We see it with Yahweh's son, all right, Yeshua, Yahweh, and we see it also with just how he lived his life, and women were around him, helping him, ministering to him, but he didn't, fall for any of them. And when we see Paul's life, Paul was a single man also, and we see them. But now women We see a woman in the Bible named Anna in the book of Luke that got with her husband, and then he died. She was young, and he died 7 years later, and she stayed at the temple. All right. Paul, the scriptures don't give any advice about a man being able to stay single. The scriptures are very clear by example that the older woman, 60 and over, was expected to stay married, get married. Anna, of course, was the exception to that rule. She was at the temple of Yahweh day and night, praying and fasting and serving at the temple. Just like Hamashiach was serving the people, she was serving the people, the priests, praying and fasting, and she was a part of that, auxiliary staff, so to speak. And she saw the Messiah when he was born. Okay, so, but generally speaking, the woman should have a man, and just seeing my own, just I've seen a lot. The more a woman goes without a man, the harder it is going to be for her to submit to a man, because she's calling all of the shots. She's making all of her own decision. Her mindset is that it's going to work out all right if I don't do what you say to do, because it's worked out for me. It's worked out for me so far. It's almost like you get somebody to do some contract work while they're an apprentice, which would be a young man or a young woman getting married together when they're younger. They're in the apprentice stage of life. You're 18, 21, 22. You're in the apprentice stage of life. You're kind of on a job training. But then once you get older and you're not an apprentice no more, you got your own business. It's going to be hard for me as a business owner to come and tell you as a business owner how you're going to operate in my business. And you feel like, well, I don't want to operate in your business that way. I did my business like this. And I say, well, this is how we run, our business over here. We use 16 penny nails, galvanized steel. And you say, well, we use 16 penny nails, iron and rust, just regular steel. And I say, no, they need to be galvanized. And you say, no, I don't need. And I say, look, I'm not going to argue with you. This is how, I'm gonna, and you said this, and I said, I'm not gonna argue with you. This is how we're gonna do it. And then the apprentice that's not an apprentice anymore, but still really is an apprentice, tells me that, well, you know what? We'll do it your way, stupid. You see? And this is, I've had experiences like this, actually before, when I was working doing some contract work for the city. I said, no, we can't do this like this. I said, if you do this, it's not going to work out. You can't pay this much. You can't pay this much. Oh, we're going to have all these contracts. We're going to do this, and it'll take this long to do. And I'm like, you can't do that. So I went out and I did my contract work. I go back and be like, I need my money. What do you mean you need your money? I'm finished all of the work, the contract work. I finished all of it. It was for landscaping for the city. I was like, no, you're like, you finished? Yeah, I'm finished all of it. Well, we got to have somebody to look at it, call the city. Yeah, the city, everything was good. Like, yeah, I saw you, I was done. If they did the inspection, maybe a random, look at something. Hey, everything's good. So I need my money. Well, I ain't got the money for you. Well, you need to pay me my money. I did the work. You said you're going to pay me when I finish the work. The work is done. Well, we didn't. Look, I tried to tell you at the beginning that you can't set up your pay structure like this. I told you that. You didn't want to listen, so I need my money. So eventually I ended up, acquiescing and ended up, humbling myself and saying, look, when somebody tells you something that got experience in doing jobs or doing stuff like this, go ahead and listen to what they're telling you. Run it past yourself and look at it on paper before you make that decision. So my point is that Anna had that experience with her husband. Paul didn't. Hamashiach didn't. They were created for multiple purposes. All right. The woman came in to help them do their job. But if they're so focused on their job that they can do it without constant help, then they can function without it. But the woman was specifically made for a man. And in other words, Adam did a major job before Eve was created, before Eve was given to him. He did a major job. He had all of the animals named. You know, he gave them the names that some of the names that we use that we use now. You know, some of those names have passed on now. And she came on, you know, just to be like a help to him for everything after that. But naming all of the species on Earth that were around at that time is the job that Adam had. So he did all of that by himself. Nobody helped him with it. And then the Most High brings this woman to him, and she's like, well, you know, I think we should listen to the serpent now. Adam's the one controlling the whole show. All of the animals look to him. They respect him. They know that this is the man that, you know, that did all of those things. They had a physical interaction with Adam. If we look in Genesis chapter 2, verse 19, it says, and out of the earth, Yahweh formed all of the animals of the field and all of the birds of the sky and brought them to Adam. So they came to Adam to see what he would call them. And anything, whatever Adam called it as living creature, this was its name. So this is a taxing job. This is a taxing job. And that's why you see in the Hebrew, when you look at some words in Hebrew, it describes a characteristic of an animal in the Hebrew. And sometimes even in the English, like they had that bird, a quail. The bird says, and I used to hear all the time, and it's called a bob white. It's called a bob white quail because when you listen to it, the bird sounds like it's saying Bob White. So we have these descriptive words that Adam gave to these animals that aren't just words, but these are words in English. Oh, what kind of dog is this? This dog is a dog that was bred to help with the sheep. Where at? In Austria. Okay, it's an Austrian Shepherd. In Germany, okay, it's a German Shepherd. In Belgium, okay, it's a Belgian Shepherd. Well, this is the old original one. You know, what kind of dog is this? Or this is a sheep dog. He looks like a sheep and he sleeps with the sheep and he walks with the sheep, but he attacks the wolves like a sheep doesn't do. Okay, this is going to be a sheep dog. So Adam looked at all these animals and gave them all of the designations, the names that he wanted them to have. And this was an excellent thing. So the Most High brought them all to Adam. All right, and Adam gave the names to all the cattle, the birds of the sky, and the animals of the field. But for Adam, there was not found a helper like him. Now, if you go back and you look at, let me see, let me go into Genesis chapter 1, verse 20. It talks about the birds. All right. And it talks about, and Elohim said, let the waters bring forth creeping things among living things, and birds flying on the earth against the firmament of the sky. And it became so. So here we said the birds did indeed come from the earth in the sense of the waters on the earth, but their actual immersion from creation came from the waters. And of course, on the 6th day is when the Most High made all of these different animals on the land animals. The 5th day, all right, is when he made the living creatures, the big ones among the animals, and the waters brought forth according to their kind, every winged bird according to its kind. And then when you go in verse 24, it says, in verse 6, it says, and Elohim said, let the earth bring forth the living creatures according to its kind, quadrupeds and creeping things, and wild animals of the earth according to their kind. All right. So this is where we got the things on the earth. But again, before that, we got the great sea monsters and every creature among creeping animals which the waters brought forth according to their kind. All right. So now this is where you have the birds, and this is also where you have amphibians. All right. Particularly the amphibians that must have water to survive. Those also are gonna be originating from the waters, most likely, especially the got little tadpoles that got to swim inside the water, to be born. All right. So I just want to make that distinction of the birds coming from the waters, um, and put that with what we see in Genesis 2:19 about the birds of the sky. He performed the animals of the field and all the birds of the sky. The reason the birds of the sky are mentioned here is because they were present on the earth. They live on the earth. All right. The fish don't live on the earth, so these birds live on the earth. So Yahweh brought them to Adam along with the other land creatures that he made. But nonetheless, getting back on track. So Adam was told, you can't do this. It's not good for man to be alone. All right. And the Most High, he knows that it's not good for a man to be alone. But it's even far more difficult for a woman to be alone than a man. All right. Because a woman has a higher level of emotional need and comfort. All right. Than a man does. Because Eve was created to get validation from Adam. And that's a biological and a spiritual reality. And we can see that later on when we go into chapter 3. Eve was made to get validation from Adam, and he was meant to rule over her. And we talked about how the same word for Adam's rulership is the same word for the Greek word for Lord, for the word Lord, that he was made to be a Lord over her. So the woman has to submit herself in order to the order of righteousness established by Yahweh, with Adam working for Yahweh. Because remember, there's two main influencers in the garden. There's Hashatan, and then there's the instructions that Yahweh gave, which is coming out of Yahweh. So if Eve is not being influenced from Yahweh, she's being influenced from Hashatan, the serpent. If the man is not being influenced by Yahweh, he's being influenced by the serpent. All right. So you can't the man can be influenced by Yahweh, and the woman say, well, I'm influenced by the serpent or whatever, and the household can still be in order. But now if the man is saying, I'm influenced by the serpent and the woman's influenced by Yahweh, he's over that house. So all of that influence that Yahweh has in that house, the man can just literally and actually push her to the side and be like, no, we're celebrating Christmas this year. No, we're celebrating Easter this year. And be like, no, we're celebrating all of these pagan holy days, unholy days this year. And a man can do that. All right, but the man as the head, and the woman goes, he can say, nah, whatever you do at your father's house or your mother's house, I ain't got nothing to do with that. I don't want you going, but I ain't gonna tie you to no chair. But I don't want my kids going there. And he can physically stop her. He can physically stop her. And then of course the police gonna come. You can't do that. Blah blah blah. XYZ 1 2 3. He can say, well, but again, because the police have that physical power, all right. So the power and the authority is going to go to the physical power. The woman doesn't have the physical power to stop a man. So there's two things that the woman relies on to enforce her will. All right. Her speech and outside forces. Those are the two things and this is what happened with Hashatan. Eve received instructions from Satan, the serpent, to eat the fruit. And then she took it back to Adam. When she took it back to Adam, Adam consumed it. She couldn't do that on her own. She couldn't do that on her own. Now, remember, Adam's working independently. Adam's getting the job done. So Hashatan is sitting back on some hater type stuff like, y'all don't like that, man. This dude done named all the animals. Hey, Sade, come here. That fruit look right, don't it? Yeah, I guess it do. I don't know. We ain't supposed to eat it, though. Oh, damn, I got her talking. She ain't supposed to be talking to me. Uh-oh, okay. So, yeah, why don't you go ahead and taste that? The Most High, Yahweh, he know if you eat it, he jive like on some next stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, he ain't really on it like that. He don't really want nobody really rocking the way he be rocking, like, and that's what's going to happen. You ain't really going to die all like that. Not for real, for real. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't die like that, for real, for real. We all died physically. And he lived, 900, something years. You feel me? So the consequences came later, but they were she was entertaining him. Why is she entertaining? Because now she ain't Adam's helper no more. She's the serpent's helper. Whose helper is your woman? Is your woman helping you? Or is she helping some white man somewhere for some money? Or is she helping a black man, an Asian man for some money? The same submission that the woman gives, and I tell you like the truth, in my household, I would give my father more submission, my mother more submission than I would ever give to any boss on a job. You see what I'm saying? Even just in little stuff. If I'm sitting down, my big sister's there, and my big sister say, "Can you go and look on the couch for me and see if I left my purse there or whatever?" I get up and go look for the purse of my big sister. It's no big deal to me. It's no big deal. You know what I'm saying? I could have just got off work or just got finished, cutting the 3/4 acre yard or whatever, and I go get it. I go, so I'm not submitting to her per se, but I'm cooperating out of respect and her position in my domestic situation, in my family. So now if it's like, hey, we need to do X, Y, Z, get some bacon or something. I'm like, nah, we need to get some pork chops. I'm like, nah, we get some pepperoni. I'm like, nah. You see? So when it comes to stuff that ain't against the Most High, I can work with it. But when she tried to say, well, give me some Christmas cards, I'm like, nah, I ain't doing all of that. Nah, that's wicked. You know that. You ain't supposed to celebrate no Christmas. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to be disrespectful how I come at her. So the same thing, like, so I can still, just give her a little bit of help. But now when it comes to, and I said that to say that if you on a job, the Israelite man, he don't got no problem helping outside of his job. We a lot of times are more agreeable because we don't want to be working with you on that job with these people. We may like the job, but I'm gonna be, XYZ at the house. Hey, can you go up get my purses on the bag? And that's usually my purse. Or if you're going upstairs, can you get my such and such key for my locker or whatever? I wasn't going upstairs, but I got you. Now, what I noticed, though, is that a lot of times the Israelite woman, she'll give the man less respect than she gives her people at work because she's magnetic toward the ones most in a Western society, the people, whoever's putting money in their pocket, those are the ones that are going to get the most cooperation. The ones that aren't are going to get less cooperation. This serpent got more power and more influence than Adam. He's giving me a way out, a loophole. Open that back up, please. He's giving me a loophole to do what Adam and the serpent, Adam and and Yahweh told me not to do. So she's like, man, I can get some power too. And that's the thing. You know, he know you're going to be like him. But what did the Most High do? The Most High said, you know what? Well, we're going to have to bring you down a notch now. He's going to dominate over you. And your desire is going to have to be unto him. You're going to have to answer to him now. When we go into Genesis, all right? Chapter 3. So now when it says it's not good for the man to be alone, this is kind of reflected in what Paul was saying in 1 Corinthians chapter 7. He don't go straight out and say, like, make the distinction between a man and a woman, but it's hidden in the Greek. And you could do your own word, all right? When it talks about the exclusive possession, the woman, Eve, is Adam's exclusive possession, meaning nobody else can possess her. When you see the word own in this verse, it's heauto, which means this can only be for this person. It's only this person in the grammar. Now, when you go into the man, all right, it's idion. Her own husband is idion. So Paul deliberately used two different verses, two different words in this verse. He uses a monogamous word for the woman, meaning you can only be for him. But he uses a polygynous word for the man, meaning this woman you can be her man, but you may also be her man, you know, on some King David type stuff. You feel me? Some King David type stuff. But the reason he says this, I can't tell you the exact reason, but one thing you can see with the reason is that the man's mission, as we saw in Genesis, was far more complex before the woman even came on the scene. All right, I need somebody to come in and plug this microphone, because I'm kind of yelling over it with the guy next door doing whatever he's doing on the Sabbath day. All right, this is how I want to talk, but I can't because I got this noise in my ear, like the maniac dental assistant over there. So in Genesis, in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, the thing is right there. Verse 1, Paul says, now concerning the things whereof ye wrote unto me, all right, because somebody wrote a letter to Paul about a problem, and he's going to talk about the problem briefly. It is good for a man not to touch a woman. All right. So notice he puts it on a man. He doesn't say it's good for a woman not to touch a man. He never says that. That's never even this gonna have to get adjusted too, I think. That's never even implied. That's never even implied in the scriptures. But he says what? He said it's good for a man not to touch a woman, meaning what? It's good if you remain single. That point needs to. Is it good for you to? Can anybody else out there come out and help? Can somebody come in and help him, please? I got it. I'm just showing you. The leg needs to be spinning around that way. All right. Tighten that up over there. All right, so now it says that it is good for a man not to touch a woman. So in your family structure, if the man decides, you know what, I don't want to touch a woman, I don't want to have a wife, I don't want to get married, that's something that Paul says is a good choice. Of course, he's writing to these people that are now, you loosening it. He's writing to these people that are in Hamashiach. He's writing to the people that are trying to serve Yahweh. All right. He's not writing to just somebody off the street. He's writing to somebody that's part of the body. All right. He's writing to somebody that's part of the body. All right. So now it says, it's good for a man not to touch a woman. Let's pull that back some. This. I need this to go back some, please. All right. Now push it forward. All right, so he says, yeah, I gotta have to tighten that up, please, over there. Because it keeps falling down. And it doesn't, that's not a default setting for it to fall like that. So he says it's good for a man not to touch a woman. So he puts it in the context that a man is able to be alone without a woman. But that's something that's very hard for a woman to do. So it's very hard for a woman to stay without a man. And that's why when you go into these little stores and stuff, they make all these contraptions for women. They don't have a bunch of contraptions for man. All right. They don't have a bunch of contraptions for man. They got all these contraptions for women. That's a big industry for women, not for men. Okay. So he says it's not good for a man to be. It is good for a man. It is good for a man not to touch a woman. So it's good for a man not to touch a woman. So if a man says, I'm going to refrain from touching a woman, like Paul is saying, that's something good. And he says, nevertheless, even with that being the case, Paul says to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife. This own wife right here is the word that's an exclusive possession. So to avoid fornication, let the man have a woman that doesn't belong to nobody else but him. All right. That does not belong to no other man. And this is the same concept, right? That we see in Leviticus chapter 20, verse 10. All right. This is the same concept we see in Leviticus chapter 20, verse 10, where it tells us a man who commits adultery with the wife of a man, or who commits adultery with the wife of his neighbor, let both the adulterer and the adulteress by death be put to death. All right. So again, we see that the man is messing with another man's woman. So there's two men, one woman. Impossible situation in righteousness. All right. Again, a man who commits adultery with the wife, right, with the wife of a man, or a man who commits adultery with the wife of his neighbor. So here you got two men and one woman. Impossible situation in righteousness, and this is why we go back into Romans. All right, if we go back into Romans, Paul says in Romans chapter 7, verse 2, for the woman which has a husband is bound by the law to her husband as long as he lives. But if the husband be dead, she is loosed from the law of her husband. If the husband is dead, she's loosed from that law. So you can't have that situation in righteousness. And the language that Paul uses is going to be something that is understood by a Greek reader, his audience. They understand the difference between It's almost like if it's almost like if you see something, if you see um, if you see something that says that you may bring your child may accompany you on this trip, but then you see a open parenthesis and it says REN, and then you see closed parentheses, which means you can read it as being child or children, plural for a child. So that's a distinction that you would be able to see in the English. Now somebody says, well, we don't got enough paper, it's just we're gonna just put child. All right, we're gonna just put child. Um, then it's almost like in Spanish with the if you see child and it says hija and it's a daughter as opposed to hijo, very distinct, very specific language. It's feminine. But in English, you say son and daughter or child. But if you see the word hija in Spanish, it's talking about a female, which is a daughter. So Paul is using language that's very distinguishing, that's very distinctive. He's not using language that's confusing. So in Deuteronomy, in Leviticus chapter 20, verse 10, he tells you, oh, this right here is going to be specifically for a man that's dealing with a woman, and that woman is not dealing with nobody but him. That's the word that he chose to use. All right. Does that make sense? Does what I'm saying make sense? It does? Okay. So that's the word that Paul uses. So he says, nevertheless, to avoid fornication. What is fornication? When we look at the word fornication in Greek, it's porneos, which is like porno, which means any inordinate contact other than righteously between what we would call in English now a husband and a wife. But in the Hebrew, it's just a man and a woman. All right. Or ginos and andros, like a woman and a man. That's the distinction. All right. So that's what pornos is. Anything we see outside of Genesis chapter 1 or Genesis chapter 2 with a man and a woman we read that last week. They will be one flesh. All right, they will be one flesh, and the man leaves his mother and father and is joined to his wife. So now he's left his mother and father, is joined to his wife. The wife is joined to him. He's the head now, as we see in his own household and he's recreating that same family type of structure, right? So going back to 1 Corinthians 7, let every man have his own wife, not another man's wife. But it's tricky in the English because you don't see the distinction. Because then it says, let every woman have her own husband. And so I said, see, her own husband, not a husband of another man or of another woman, but her own husband, meaning is only for her. But that's not the word. Remember, he used the word idion. And that word idion is that word idion means something that means something that could be a community type of structure. Amari, come here. Move that over there. How long does it take y'all to eat out there, man? I've been in here for like 40 minutes, 50 minutes, been talking in here over there. All right, so now it says, let every woman have her own man, in a sense, own man in the sense that Rachel and Leah, Rachel had her own husband in righteousness, and Leah also had her own husband in righteousness. Now, if he went outside of that and dealt with another woman in wickedness, he would have been wrong, but there was no penalty that the courts could impose upon him for dealing with a woman outside of Rachel and Leah. Outside of Rachel and Leah. But that's their husband. And the word is idion, which means something that could potentially be a collective possession. A collective possession. Okay? Like when I would like like if I tell you, if somebody comes into my house and refuses to leave, all right, and I say, this is my house, you need to go. It's not just my house. Other people live there. Other people live there. So that's the way that we would see this word. That's the way this word is used. It's something that you could say is mine, but it's a collective possession. As opposed to if I say, get off of my foot, that's nobody else's foot but mine. That foot belongs to only me. Okay? That heart, my heart, is only my heart. Doesn't belong to nobody else. It's part of, it's my body. All right? So basically, Paul uses a word where he used the own husband as if the husband is a collective possession, but the woman, your own wife, is a exclusive possession only for you. So he says, let the husband render unto his wife due benevolence. That means all of the levels of positive care and interaction that he's supposed to give to the woman. He's supposed to give to his wife, which means what? How does he know what due benevolence is? Who does he ask? Where could he go to learn about that? From his older male family members, his father, his big brother, all right, in a righteous setting. And a lot of people, men and women, have bad experiences because nobody ever told them how to love somebody, let alone how to love another human being that's you've given yourself to for life. A lot of us are hurt. We've been bruised, we've been injured, we've been assaulted, we've been attacked, and we've had terrible human experiences. But there are those people that have had, a lot of, man, I wish she was moving. I thought there was like a 400-pound woman out there. Our experiences, we've been hurt, but there are also those of us out there that haven't been really hurt too bad, and it's sad because I would probably say, to my knowledge, maybe like maybe 6 or 7 out of every 10 women that I know have been touched inappropriately by somebody in their family. All right, somebody in their family. And I remember when I was living in Belize, it was a man that had touched a little girl, and he tried to cross the border. They crossed the border, they turned him right around because somebody already called the border. They turned him around, and he went back somewhere. They caught him, and they beat him within probably 1 inch of death. He was like a half an inch away from death. and death is a mile long. So they beat this man within 1 inch of death. Okay, and when you deal with different countries, they don't play around with stuff like that, especially not when it comes to a woman's honor. They'll kill you if you force yourself on on a woman, or try to do something with a woman without her consent. All right. um, so because a lot of times in our countries, and a lot of Israelite amongst the crowd that was doing the lynch mob, I saw that crowd. I didn't join the lynch mob, but I was aware that they were looking for this guy. All right. So my point is that because of the hurt that a lot of women have experienced, because they did not have that biblical Adam tending to and protecting the garden, safeguarding the women around them, you have this thing happening. All right. And even if I can get a little bit more personal, I know males in my family that have laid with, have wicked intimacy on some gay type stuff with other men in my family, other boys in my family. So we live in a very perverted society. So everybody is in such a, even down here, I want to go to America. What's in America? Because they don't know, because that's not in their mind, because they've never experienced it. But they can be standing right next door standing right beside a cousin, a relative that likes to touch on boys between 15 and 22 years old, likes to groom them, and they would never know. Or men that have touched on stepdaughters, they would never know. So you don't know what's out there, and you don't know what somebody's been through. So when you get a man or a woman, you're getting something that potentially could be very, very damaging. Very damaging. You're getting something that could be very messed up. And if they haven't gotten the proper spiritual counseling, proper repentance for the situation, then it's going to be messed up. So they bring all of that pain, all of that drama, all of that trauma, all of that agony into this marriage, into this relationship. And it causes fights. It causes arguments. It causes distrust. Because you haven't given yourself a time to heal. And a lot of our people are just too mean to heal. Just too mean to heal. And I was listening to something earlier before, statistically, and it was a statistic that says that after a woman, I think you can gauge it like this, okay? With every, after the first 2 men, the woman's ability to easily attach herself to a man drops by about 20%. To where now, if she's experienced 10 different men or been quote unquote in love with 2 different men, now it could be emotional or it could be physical. You'll have to do the detail on your own. But when she's emotionally giving, physically giving to another man, by the time she's past that 10th man, her ability to psychologically and emotionally attach herself to a man is at 20%. meaning she has a 20% chance of successfully attaching herself emotionally to that man. And a woman, what she does is she gets frustrated because she has love for this man, but not on his terms. And this is why women a lot of times stay in abusive relationships, because she wants to love him, but he don't want to love her on his terms, on her terms rather, which is just be nice to me, don't hit me. And she stays around, she sticks around. And she forms an emotional dependence on this man. Because there's no brother or no older cousins that are around to kick his ass. There's nobody around. And that's one thing, we never had that problem in my family. I mean, whether you're talking about, Queens or Nyack or Brooklyn, Brownsville, East New York, all right, Jamaica, Queens, that is. It's too many, you talking about crazy Haitians and Dominicans and Puerto Ricans and Black Americans from North Carolina and Alabama in my family unit. And there's always big, strong men that's waiting to, fulfill their duty as protector. And if a woman doesn't have that, that's how she gets exploited. But she thinks, I can function on my own, I can do X, Y, Z. Or maybe, but that's good, but that's not the real world. It's an illusion world. We as men decide not to engage with a woman's foolishness. It's not you. We're deciding, when you call us out of our name, we're deciding not to go off on you because we have self-control a lot of times. Some men don't. But because that woman didn't have anybody to intervene for her, she had to become her own protector. She had to get sometimes used and abused, and sometimes just go into a reclusive shell because that's her protection. And if you keep that shell up for too long, it's going to be hard for you to do what Yahweh told the woman to do, which was to submit to the man. He shall rule over you. So now when it says, let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence. And likewise also the wife unto the husband. Unto the husband. But who taught her? How did she learn how to give benevolence? All right. All right. It says, the husband must fulfill his duty to his wife, and likewise the wife also to her husband. We get that Bible right here and bring it out from there. 1 Corinthians 7 and 2. No, 7 and 3. And then it tells you that read that, what you got?
The husband should give his wife what is due her.
Okay.
And likewise the wife to her husband.
All right, that's intimacy. And that's also, respect and consideration. But in the situation of who's going to get their way, the man's always going to get his way. If that's what he wants, he may yield to the woman. All right, what's this? Got a dark shadow on my face that comes from here. Light's right there. That's a little better. Darkness though. No, because you're blocking that light. Wow, you brought a big shadow when you. So what was I saying? What was I saying? Huh? Yeah, he's gonna get what he wants. because he's the boss. That's the cost of being the boss. In other words, he decides whether he's going to listen to the woman or not. He decides whether he's going to listen to the woman, not the woman. Because again, because you have to understand the order of creation. Right. You have to understand the order of creation. So the man has to give the woman her due, and she has to give it to him also. All right. So the woman has not power over her own body, but the husband. Meaning the body of the woman is given to the man. All right. For him. But the husband, and likewise also the husband, hath not power of his own body, but the wife. All right. So when it says it's not good for the man to be alone, that means he is supposed to be connecting himself with a woman. And if a woman doesn't have that, she's emotionally and physically incomplete. The man is imprinting his genetic material into that woman's body, into her bloodstream, into her actual brain. Those cells that go into her body from the man goes into her brain. Those cells go into her brain. And this is why as time goes on, she can't make that connection because she has different DNA in her body. You can look it up right now. You don't believe me. Go look it up. Say, does a woman store a man's DNA in her body? Somebody look it up real quick. Just go to Google, type it up and give it to me. Does a woman store a man's DNA in her body? Sister said, mine either. You said, my strong male cousins and uncles are always on the lookout. And that's where you get the shotgun weddings from back in the day. Oh, now you got her pregnant, you touched her, not even got her pregnant, you touched her, that's yours. You got to marry her now. You got to marry her. All right. And we got to come from up under that curse. We got to come from under that curse. We got to come from up under that. A lot of women have been married and had children and everything like that. But how is the woman going to know? Well, Paul tells her in chapter 2, and then that an older woman in this walk and in life in general is supposed to be teaching her. If you are a woman in this truth and you're not getting taught how to be a woman and how to be a wife from the older women in this walk, you out of order. And you know you out of order. And you're being stubborn and you're being rebellious because you got a different agenda. If your agenda is to, I go give me Titus chapter 2, man. This says long-term presence. It's called microchimerism. The presence of male DNA in a woman's body for years or decades is a real phenomenon. All right. But it says this one comes from the male fetus. That's crazy too. So that's one aspect of it. Another is how long does a male's DNA stay in a woman? It says, does the body retain DNA from the seed? Studies indicate that the body does hold onto some male sperm DNA for a while. Male DNA has been found during autopsies in the woman listen, in her blood, liver, heart, and brain. Especially, it says, of a woman who gave birth to sons. Up to 10 days following unprotected sex, male cervical biopsies have also revealed the presence of male DNA. And it says, like, the male cells can survive in certain situations. And it says, even minute amounts of DNA originating from sperm have been detected in a woman's tissue during post-mortem tests. All right. What you got, Titus? I read the top. Listen to what it says.
But as for you, teach what is consistent with sound instruction.
Teach what is consistent with sound instruction. Go ahead.
Tell the older men
Tell the older men. Go ahead.
to be temperate, serious,
Temperate and serious. Go ahead.
self-controlled,
Self-control.
and sound.
And let me explain that self-control. Self-control is doing what the man decides to do for the good of the situation, with or without a woman's approval, consent, or understanding of it. Read.
And sound,
Stand over here, please, because you're blocking the light.
and sound in faith.
Sound in faith. So solid in your faith. You're not wavering. Read.
In love and in endurance.
Sound in love. So you gotta love. Like I said, was that earlier? Yeah, you gotta love. Just love, man. Get all that hate and out of your heart and love. It's so much easier to love. But you can love at a distance too. All right, go ahead.
Likewise,
go ahead.
tell the older women.
Tell the older women, these are the women that are older in the walk, particularly for our purposes right now. Read.
To be reverent in behavior.
To be reverent in behavior. So to behave in a way where somebody would expect to revere her. Go ahead.
Not to be slanderers.
Not to be going around talking to everybody negatively about somebody else. That's what slanderer is. A person that talks bad about people. A person that talks bad about people, a gossiper, a backbiter, a person that can sit on the phone talking with you about somebody else, but not talk to you about, not talk to that person about what they talk to you about. Yeah, man, this brother so-and-so's breath be stinking. Yeah, man, do be stinking. And his underarms too. Yeah, his underarms be funky. Smell like he work at an onion factory with caca, onion and caca factory. Like he took a baby's diaper and just rubbed it under his arms every day. Yeah, he's funky son of a gun. Son of a gun, yeah, he's a son of a gun. He's shooting stink bullets. So read that again.
Not to be slanderers.
The woman, you can't be slanderers. And you go into marriages and relationships, and you're not single no more. Read.
Or enslaved to much wine.
Or enslaved to much wine, or intoxication. And that's if your husband even allows you to drink. It's his choice at the end of the day. You can't tell him what you are or aren't going to do with drinking and stuff like that. All right, go ahead.
They are to teach what is good.
The older women are supposed to be doing what?
Teach what is good.
A teacher needs a what?
Teach.
A teacher needs a what? Needs a student. Let's see who the students are. Go ahead.
So that they may encourage.
So that they may encourage who?
The young woman.
The young woman. The young woman. The older woman is supposed to be encouraging the young woman. The older woman in this walk. I don't mean you 60 years old, but you ain't in this walk. A woman has been in this walk for 5 years or 10 years. A lot of times can be more. Let me say this way. You're looking at the spirit also. You're not just looking at this. It's not just, oh, I've been in this for so and so many years. Okay. A woman that's single can teach you some things, but not all things in this walk in Torah. I got to make that distinction because being in the truth is not being in the Torah. Being in the truth is not being in the Torah. Being in the truth is, I know him, how long he been in the truth. In other words, the same definition for being in the truth applies to you that applies to Tahar keeping the lunar Sabbath. Tahar is not in the truth. But he's in the truth by our definition of in the truth, even though he's an Israelite. How long he been in the truth, right? You can't build being the truth when somebody's doing a lie. So being in the truth just means somebody's in, somebody's knowing that they're Israelite. But how long has somebody been living in Torah is the question. How long you been in Torah? How long you been in the Torah? So he's been in Torah 19 years. So you think because you've been in the truth for 10 years, you're going to stand up and argue with this man? Come over so they can see you, man. You're going to sit and argue with him. Squat down so you can get a shot. All right. Huh? He's been in the Torah for 19 years. Don't know nothing outside the Torah. How many Christmases did you do? He didn't have to get Christmas purged out of him. How many Easters did you do? He didn't have to get Easter purged out of him. How many January 1st New Year's did you do? How many Valentine's Day parties you did at school? And this one was saying, what I was saying earlier, that I had to humble myself to a brother that was like 14, 16 years old that was teaching me the Bible because he knew more than me. But you women got a lot of pride. You women got a lot of pride in it. And I'm telling you, I've been in this walk. A woman is always trying to exalt herself over a woman that is more qualified to lead somebody in Torah than she is. I've been watching this for 30 years. It's always the brother of this wife. I mean, it's the wife of this brother or this sister over here trying to, hey, look at me. I know what I'm talking about. I got the information. I help you. And that's good. But are you doing this? See, everybody can try to do this. Everybody can try to be the older woman, but don't nobody want to be the younger woman. You got to be the younger woman before you can be the older woman. And then, where the other little girl at? Yeah. You know about your dietary? You know about your clothing? You know about the holy days? You know how to observe all of the holy days? You know what to do and not to do on the Shabbat? You know how to pray and what to pray and when to pray? All right, now how long you been in Torah? So she been in Torah 14 years. Of those 14 years, 9 of them were, of those 14 years, about 11 of them actually being able to speak. And 9 of them being able to actually rationalize and reason with you, but never knowing any deviance away from the Torah at 14 years old. So what makes you as a 28-year-old or a 50-year-old woman more qualified to talk to a woman about the Torah than she does? At least bare minimum, she should be working with you. Not you thinking you're in such a high social position and you just got finished smoking weed three days ago. So the point I'm making is that when Paul is talking about older, what does he mean by older? Is he talking about, oh, this woman was with Hamashiach for 3 years and she's 20 years old? Or is he talking about, oh, this woman this woman been worshiping Jupiter for 40 years and now, she's come to Christ? Which one are you talking about? Who are you going to take? The servant of the 40-year-old servant of Jupiter, or the young sister that was with Hamashiach for 3 years, following him around, listening to him, and her and her father were following him? And this is a main problem with Israelite women. You want to sit up and gawk in a man's face all day, but then when a woman time to teach you, you don't want to listen. The woman, you're going to get more out of a woman about what to do and what not to do. And this is okay, so when he's talking about these women, you got, right now in our time, you got a single woman that knows the Bible, a single woman with children that knows the Bible, a single woman with children that knows the Bible, and then you got a married woman that knows the Bible, and then you got a married woman with children that knows the Bible. And then you got a married woman with children that raised all the children in the Torah. So out of those women, which one are you going to go to get the teaching that Paul is talking about? You see that? And that's why sometimes, like I had to sit back. I had to sit back and listen to this young dude talking to me about the Bible. Continue reading.
Verse 4. So that they may.
So the younger woman is teaching the older woman why?
To love their husbands.
No, you said so that.
So that they may encourage.
So the younger woman is teaching the older woman. The older woman is teaching the younger woman so that they can encourage what?
The young woman.
Encourage the young woman. Young in this walk. The young woman in this walk is being encouraged. She's being encouraged by the older woman. It's almost like if I'm teaching him and he's learning from me, but I never went to Nathaniela to learn nothing, to teach him. Now we in the truth, so I'm gonna teach you now. I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna teach you. But I'm not going to Zaquan Nathaniela to get nothing from him. That's out of order. Read.
To love their husbands.
To what?
To love their husbands.
How are you going to deal with a woman about her husband if you don't have a husband to love? And that's the primary purpose that the woman was created. Genesis 2. It is not good for the man to be alone. Let us make a helper corresponding to him. The woman was made. Your primary purpose was to be a companion and a helper to the man. And if you're not doing that in righteousness, you're not fulfilling your purpose of creation. You're out of order. Stop putting what the world told you is important before what the Most High put in your DNA. That's why you're not a virgin no more, because you want a man. So then you did it the wrong way, but now you can't do it the right way. And when you have a man, you got to deal with that man as if you his helper, not his boss, not the author. of his textbook of what to do and what not to do, but to love him, to respect him, to honor him, to help him, not to hold him by the hand like a little boy, telling him where he needs and what he needs to do or not to do, or what he needs to say or not say, wear or don't wear. Because that ain't what we see in Genesis chapter 1. And if you say, well, what if he's such and such? And a woman may say, well, what if my husband just don't know and he need me to tell? Well, you got the wrong man and he got the wrong woman. So you got to deal with it in order. You can't keep being out of order because you got a justified reason to be out of order. If your husband want to get a pink and fuchsia tunic made, let the man wear his pink and fuchsia tunic. Ain't nothing gay about pink and fuchsia. Look it up. The boys got the pink blankets and the girls got the blue blankets. And then society decided that it was going to be the opposite. And then they gave the boys the blue and the girls pink. Am I lying? It's the truth. The truth. All right, so the husband, first of all, look up the word husband. I want everybody to go into their phones or go into their whatever and look up what is the most etymological definition. What is the most etymological form of the word husband? Husband. That's the one that controls and is in control over everything. Control over everything. You tell a child, don't talk to me like that. You're giving him discipline and correction. You tell a woman, don't talk to me like that, you're being controlling. But keep reading. Read that part you just read again.
To love their husbands.
To love their husbands. How is the woman going to be taught how to love their husband? By a woman that knows how to love her husband. All right. It says for it says for husband, it says an Old Norse word meaning husbondi. Hus meaning house, bondi meaning dweller, occupier, freeholder. All right. Other stuff on it too. Master of the house, householder. And if you fill out your your tax returns and you don't have a man and you're not working with the man and you put head of household, you are the man. Because that's what, husbonde means, householder. All right. So read that again.
To love their husbands.
To love their husbands. Have you read Paul's letters? When you read 1 Corinthians and Romans, Paul puts a lot of emphasis on family and marriage that I think is overlooked because people are so busy trying to use him to prove different things. But he puts so much emphasis on family and marriage. All right, go ahead. To love their husbands, go ahead.
To love their children.
To love their children. So they're expected to have children. Didn't Yahweh say what? What was part of the family's function in Genesis chapter 1? Genesis chapter 1, verse 28. And Elohim blessed them, saying, increase and multiply. You say increase and multiply. When you biologically can, right? Some of us may not biologically be able to have children. So you're excluded from that, but Yahweh is still in the Yahweh can still change that status for you. It's not a permanent, change. It's not a permanent thing necessarily. So be fruitful and multiply. Read.
To be self-controlled.
To be what?
Self-controlled.
To be that means control yourself. That's part of the fruits of the spirit with temperance. Going along hand in hand with temperance. But being able to control yourself. Doing and saying things in a premeditated way, especially as a woman. Because if I'm outside and I got something around my body and no t-shirt on and it falls off, big deal. But if you as a woman are out there and your stuff comes off, it's a big deal, right? You got everything showing. Go ahead. Chaste. That means conducting yourself in a sexually respectable way. Chaste doesn't just mean like I'm not dealing with nothing sexually. Chaste means you're doing everything in the righteous way. With a man and a woman. Not a man and a man, not a woman and a woman. So a single man and a single woman is not supposed to be engaging in autoerotica. So chaste, righteously dealing with your sexuality as male and female. And as this woman, specifically, not giving off the attraction of sexuality, not giving off the tone of sexuality, not giving off the energy of sexual energy, sexiness, seductive, which Paul also calls lasciviousness. So that's what chaste means. Chastity. All right, go ahead.
To be good managers.
To be good managers
of the household.
Of the household. So this is a married woman with children managing a house, good managers of a household. Now, this is on top of everything you're doing for textiles, everything that you're doing for real estate, everything you're doing for buying property. All of these things were done as part of a household structure when you look in Proverbs chapter 31. You can't just say, I'm going to be a virtuous woman for myself. No, everything that Paul is talking about, everything that Solomon is talking about, David is talking about, Bathsheba is talking about, because she's the source of Proverbs chapter 31. A lot of the stuff in Proverbs 31 came from Bathsheba. A lot of stuff that they're talking about is in the context of a woman with a man. Because it's done in the framework of Hebrew law. If a man is married, let's say a man is married, he dies. He has a wife and 200 acres. And she has a son. Who's that land go to? The son. She has a daughter. Ultimately, who's the land go to when everything is said and done? It goes to the man's closest male relative. It doesn't go to the woman. So this is the time-honored story of who? Huh? This is the biblical story of who? That inherited her husband's land. Ruth. And the dude was like, I don't, and then The brother came in and said, well, I'll take over it. I'll take over the land and I'll take the woman too. So he married her, had a child, and that child inherited the land. And that's where Hamashiach comes through Ruth. So that's just an example that, yeah, she had land, but it wasn't just for her. She got it from her husband, and he got it from his father. And then her son that she had with her deceased husband's family member, male, he inherited the land. And then they had a son. And Hamashiach comes through that family. Okay? So the woman didn't just go out there and just do this for me. It was always for her at that generation, and then the generation after you. You're working for that generation after you. Okay? Working for that generation after you. And that generation currently that you're in. Stop just thinking about yourself and putting a few dollars in your pocket for now and start thinking about somebody after you. Even though, we know we're on a very limited timeline right now. But even in the meanwhile, those resources and assets should be producing for the family and for the nation, not just for you. This is Proverbs 31 woman, the virtuous woman. Which, by the way, virtuous means orderly and soldierly. It's the exact same Hebrew letters as the word for soldier. A soldier, under normal circumstances, takes orders from who? His superior, which is going to be a man. Under normal military circumstances, especially battlefield circumstances, which is when, it's very important, life and death. So the woman that's virtuous, soldierly, and orderly is taking orders from who? So by the mere definition of the word, it's very difficult for a grown woman to be considered virtuous if she has no accountability to any male that's over her. It's different being accountable to a woman than being accountable to a man. We all know it that have mothers and fathers. We all know it. So let's not try to play that game, that the male and female. No, it's different. We know who's going to give us that leniency and who's not. And who's not going to give us the leniency when we really, really, really want it. When it really comes down to it, you have to maintain order, structure, and discipline. So the man has to understand all of these things that the woman is understanding. He has to understand what it means to be chaste, what it means to have a household, to manage the what?
The household.
To manage the household. She's the manager. She's the manager. Is the manager the boss? So if a woman says, I'm going to go and get this business, that's part of her managing the household, not her breaking away and having something different going on than her husband. But when you are married righteously and properly, you don't even think about these things. It's only when you've been selfishly on your own, doing everything on your own. When I say selfishly on your own, I mean that your first consideration is yourself. That's what I mean when I say selfishly on your own, because you don't got to consider nobody else eating, nobody else drinking. And this doesn't fall, everybody's not in this category. Keep reading.
Kind.
What?
Kind.
So you got to remember, these are things that you're being taught. So you have to be taught on how to be kind. You have to be taught on how to give a nice response to somebody. You got to be taught those things. And are you younger women willing to be taught those things? And who's teaching you? Somebody, an older woman in Torah, in Hamashiach? Go ahead.
Submissive to their husbands.
Submissive to her man. So the woman's expected to be submissive to the man. Not to just say, well, you know, I don't see it that way, so I'm not going to do it that way. What does submissive mean? Submissive means to take low. When there's some sort of disagreement or confrontation, I submit. I take this paper and I put it under your control. I take this application and I hit submit. I take this paperwork and I hit submit. I want to pay with this credit card. I'm going to hit submit payment. Now I'm giving that to you. Submission of the woman is to give herself fully to that man. And it's harder to do as time goes on. It's harder to do. Like I said, I've been watching this thing for years. And I'm going to say it like this. And this is what nobody's going to tell you, sisters. This is what nobody's going to tell you. Of all of the women that I know were like in the truth, knowing that they were Israelite, going to the school and everything, from 1994, I think I know 2 that are still hanging around. 2 or 3 maybe, right? 2 or 3 maybe. Of the brothers, I can name a bunch of brothers. My point is that you don't stick in the truth long. A lot of sisters don't stick in the truth long. They don't stick in the Torah long. I mean, take an assessment in your own life of when you first came in. Where these people at now? Where these people at now? You see? What are they doing? And because I was serious about the Torah, my family was serious about the Torah. And a lot of the women that had men that weren't serious about the Torah, they went their way, and the man went that way, and the man got another woman, she went her way. Man got another woman, and she went her way too. Because you revert back to your instinctive, worldly responses in this marriage or relationship. I don't want to be with you no more. I'm going to do my own thing. All right, whatever. Go ahead. Read that part again. Submissive
to their husbands.
To their husbands. Read.
So that the word of Allah may not be discredited.
So when you submissive to your husband, when you are operating in order, when you're operating with chastity, you're doing things that are giving credit to the word of Yahweh. So when you're the opposite, you're discrediting the word of Yahweh. Any more on that? Go ahead to the young men.
Likewise, urge the younger men.
You young men, go ahead.
To be self-controlled.
To be still self-controlled. Why is it telling both the man and woman to be self-controlled? Meaning keep your hands to yourself. Stop putting your hands in places they don't belong. Your hands don't belong to you. They belong to your husband or to your wife. Read.
In all things.
Self-controlled in all things. So he's got to be self-controlled in every area of his life. Read.
Offering yourself as a model of good works.
So you offer yourself up through your actions to be an example to other brothers for your good works. Go ahead.
And in your teaching.
And in your teaching. Go ahead.
Offering integrity, gravity, and sound speech that cannot be censored. Integrity,
gravity, and sound speech that cannot be what?
Censored.
So nobody needs to come back and correct what you said. All right, go ahead.
Then any opponent will be put to shame, having nothing evil to say of us.
So nobody have nothing evil to say. Nothing evil to say. Before you can help other brothers, you, brother, got to get help for yourself. Go ahead. We're going to keep reading this. Go ahead.
Urge slaves to be submissive to their masters.
So Israelites were slaves in the first century, and we also owned slaves in the first century. And it's not nothing weird, because you see the same thing in Leviticus chapter 25, right? See the same laws in Leviticus 25. So I was doing, the Bible says slaves obey your masters, and that's the New Testament. Nah, it's in the Old Testament. It's in the Torah too. Torah says the same thing. Not only does it say that, but the Torah removes any doubt and says, if a man sells himself to a Gentile, that's what it says. If a man sells himself to a Gentile, it says, now in case a countryman of yours becomes poor and his means among you falter, then you are to sustain him like a stranger or resident, right? Sells himself to you. So now he sold himself to you, be like a worker. And then another one says he shall serve and get free on the Jubilee. He becomes free on the year of Jubilee. So keep reading that chapter. You see that we also sold ourselves to the nations that were in our land for work. Now we sold ourselves to get basic necessities and maybe money to a stranger that had a good business. And we said, I'm gonna work for you for 6 years or until the year of release. Okay. If a fellow countryman of yours becomes so poor that he sells a part of his property, so you got the property being sold, you got the houses being sold, he sells himself to you. So you have different selling type of situations that happen. So selling yourself to somebody is basically what you do. You become a contract employee. And there's nothing wrong with that per se, but it has to be done decently and in order. And you can get redeemed. You see? That's why when you say something to me, I'm thinking Torah. You're thinking white man, civil government. I'm thinking white man, civil government, Hebrew man, Torah government. Because I know that the Torah allows for what? Exit strategies for all situations. There's an exit strategy for all of the situations that we come under. All right. And that exit strategy is what's going to help us, come together as a nation. Because now we're working together to do everything that we need to do to get further ahead in this society. So read Leviticus chapter 25 later on, you'll see all of the laws about redemption, about property, about a person working for a Gentile nation. I read.
Urge slaves to be submissive to their masters.
So you got to be submissive to the one that got that whip, that gun, that arrow over you. Read.
In everything, to be pleasing, not talking back, not stealing, but showing complete and perfect fidelity, so that in everything they may be an ornament to the teaching of our Elohim, our Savior. For the grace of Elohim has appeared, bringing salvation.
So let's back up off of that now. So it's talking about the young men and the young women. That's our focus. And they have to be in a specific mindset and have to be able to operate a specific way in society. And they got to be taught how to be this way. All right? They got to be taught how to be this way. Because Eve came from Yahweh and he took her to Adam. And she didn't have a whole bunch of distractions. And she still messed up. So how much more a woman in the 21st century with all the distractions, with different men and women and different voices putting everything in their spirit. And just get like a cleanse yourself. How often do you detoxify yourself? Do you detoxify? I'm not going to deal with no messages. I'm not going to look on my notifications, nothing. We're always distracted by doing something else. And we always got some type of influence. Well, how often do you get the influence of an elder sister or an elder brother? Huh? Or are you the influence on yourself without doing it according to the protocol that Paul gave us? Paul gave us a certain order. Let's go to 2 Timothy 2:5. We're going to wrap it up a little bit. 2 Timothy chapter 2. All right, should I come read? 2 Timothy chapter 2. 2, First Timothy 2. We're going to start with verse 7. So, and Paul has to be very specific on what he's saying, because Paul, when he's writing to these people, and he's writing to Timothy, writing to the Corinthians, he's writing to people in a society that has a very strong matriarchal underpinning. They had the goddesses that they worshiped, that had their own priests and priestesses at their temples. So Paul, now that's why Paul keeps saying the man. He puts so much emphasis on the man is the head. All right, the man is the shot caller. Submit to the man. All right, he's the head. Okay, submit to him in all things. The younger women got to learn from the older women. He puts everything in a very very polar context. Women, men, older, younger, male, female. All right. Praying and prophesying, regular teaching and preaching. All right. He's very polarizing with what he says and how he describes us. Younger women, older women, single women, married women, divorced people, married people, married to somebody that's a believer, married to an unbeliever. Okay, let's start with verse. I want to jump right into it. Start with verse 9. Verse 9. Go ahead.
1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 9.
Mm-hmm.
Also, that the women should dress themselves in moderate clothing with reverence and self-control.
Dressing themselves in what?
In moderate clothing.
Moderate clothing. Who's he talking to? Woman. Okay. So, how many genders do we have? 2. What are the genders? So if he's telling a woman to dress in moderate clothing, that's moderate compared to who? Compared to the man. So a woman is supposed to be dressed more conservatively and more modest compared to the man. That means showing less skin than the man, showing less neckline and chest than the man, showing less arm than the man, less leg than the man. A lot of you know how to dress with class You just don't get the sexual attention that your subconscious wants when you dress with class, but you get the right attention from the right people. All right. So what's he say? He says, adorn himself in proper clothing modestly. Let's say moderately or modestly.
Moderate clothing.
All right, go ahead.
With reverence and self-control.
Reverence and self-control. Not just I'm gonna go down and I'm gonna get out my car with my bat and I'm gonna go beat that windshield. Control yourself. Get a man involved. A lot of times you get a man involved, a man will help the situation better than you as a woman. Better than you as a woman. Especially when it's a situation about a man being out of pocket for what he did wrong. Okay. But then again, it's like a level of it's a level of the stupidity too. Some people, you push that button, all right, here I am, maybe 11, 12 years old, right? I mean, like about 11, 12 years old. I'm in my neighborhood, Prince George's County. Look it up. You want to know about it. I'm in Prince George's County, one of the most dominant Black counties in America, even back then. It wasn't, only Black counties back then was probably the ones down south in the Black Belt, like Alabama. So when you look at that, I'm in Prince George's County, and we doing something. We was kicking on somebody's fence, and the dude was playing with the dog or whatever, kicking on the fence. And the man came out the house and said, he was like, you ninjas, but he didn't say ninja. He said the N-word. And we laughed. We're like, oh, that's funny. Because here you are, you ain't got nobody but ninjas in your neighborhood. Ninja police, ninja firemen, right? Ninja sanitation engineers, ninjas everywhere. So we laughed it off because, man, it was funny. I was like, for real? You go, what? Like, we never been called that. We never get called that in our life. We didn't even call each other that. People wasn't using that word in that part of the country at that time. They weren't using that word in that part of the country at that time because they had seen what the white people using that word and what it meant and all of that. But anyway, but it was funny too. So we just laughed it off. So in other words, you don't got to respond to people's ignorance with hostility and violence. Just be prepared for if something go down. So in our mind, we thought it was funny, but we're like, all right, we'll be that. But now if he would have came out, he'd have got beat down by four sixth graders. I guarantee you that. Because everybody could fight. But it didn't bother. We're like, nah, whatever. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. We niggas. Okay. We niggas. Hey, I'm nigga. Thank you. I'm okay. Did I get a cookie? Did I get a cookie for being that? But it didn't bother us. It just rolled right off our back. Because we understood even then, we understood then amongst ourselves the greatness that we had. Because all we saw around us was us. And we knew, what we were. And if we were that, it didn't bother us because we still are, it didn't change our lives. You feel me? So just because somebody come at you a certain kind of way don't mean you got to get vindictive and take vengeance and put them in a place. All right, because you can walk in, right? You can walk in tough, but you can leave out crying. You can be carried out in pain, right? And that's one of the things that we understand and learn. You don't just provoke a situation that you can avoid if you don't need to. But if something go down, be ready to do what you need to do. I was talking to my son the other day. I was like, yo, because they don't gotta have, some states don't require a license for CCW, carrying concealed weapon no more. You just carry them. So I'm like, just be careful, where you at, where you going, and just make sure you can protect yourself when you need to. Oh yeah, definitely da. And like, just watch the environment. Like, well, yeah, if I'm gonna go someplace and think I need to have protection when I go there, then I'm probably not gonna go. If I sit back and think about, like, I can't go to this place without protection, I'm not gonna go there. You feel me? That was the mindset, and that's the mindset you gotta have. If it's a situation I'm gonna go into, and this is how a man would think. If it's a situation I'm gonna go into to where I know it's a probability of violence erupting, it's probably better to just stay out of that environment. Period. Go ahead to Timothy.
With reverence and self-control,
Uh-huh.
not with their hair braided, or with gold, pearls, or expensive clothes.
So he says that's what you put yourself in regular clothing. So you don't look to just put the focus on your hair or on your clothing or on your gold. You can have a nice hairstyle. You can have expensive apparel. So he's not saying walk around naked. He's just saying don't look to adorn yourself with something just because, it's expensive. And
as is proper for women, profess reverence for Allah.
So you have to have a wardrobe, a whole closet full of good works that you're doing in the body and for the body of Hamashiach. Focus on that. All right. Go ahead.
For a woman, learn in silence.
Let the woman what?
Learn in silence.
And this is something that we don't really enforce too much, but it's supposed to be a silent learning process for the women. I mean, because even like here, you won't in the classes, back in the day, the women wouldn't say like a lot, but then after class over, like you may have like wives or daughters or nieces, even mothers knocking on a man's door, like during class, such and such said such and such. I really didn't understand. Oh yeah, this what that meant, and here look, such and such and such. So you can go ahead. What did it say?
Let a woman learn in silence with full submission.
Full submission. That means stop always trying to question and push back. Let stuff be how the man says it's gonna be. Imagine you're on your job and you got somebody that's subordinate to you on your job. And every shift on your job, there's that one person where every time you say something, every shift they challenge you. Not every time, not the whole shift, but every shift they challenge you as their boss, telling them or telling you how you need to do it as their boss. Eventually, you're going to get tired of it. So the woman's supposed to learn the Bible in submissiveness. Now, who is she supposed to be learning in submissiveness to? Who's teaching her? The man, and who else? And an older woman. And most of the older women are learning from their older men. So a woman comes in. A woman comes in, right? She still got a closet full of hot girl summer clothes. She just not ending her her city girl phase, right? And then now she's coming in, well, sis, I don't think that that's supposed to be that way. Well, that's what it means. That's how he's taught, and that's what's been working for the past 40 years, righteously. Well, I think that just seems a bit excessive to me. Well, what were you doing 40 years ago when this understanding was established amongst the Hebrew Israelite community? Well, 40 years ago, I'm 60 now, so I was 20. What was you doing 40 years ago, 1980, 85? Oh, I was out there. I was doing my thing. Exactly. And they weren't. And you probably would have said the same thing then that you're saying now. If this is the modest version of you, you probably would have had objections back then too, when you were still out there like that. So this is it. This is the way. You're not going to come in and just do it your way. We respect the culture and our customs and practices and our laws as Israelite people. And you will also. And we read earlier about what? About dissension, remember? We read about stop stirring up or sowing dissension amongst the body. You can go right there if you want. Off of that, just right there. Or even right here. Go ahead.
Verse 12, I do not permit a woman to teach.
I do not permit a woman to teach. Go ahead.
Or to have authority over a man.
A woman is not to have authority over the man. You are not our equals. You are not our equals. You have no authority over us. Period. All right? The woman is not teaching the man. The women were not Torah teachers. Deborah was not a Torah teacher. Deborah received special messages from Yahweh, and she was a master of the Torah. And she was married also. She was a master of the Torah. Hey, somebody plug this in. I don't know if it's plugged in or not. It is plugged in, I think. She was a master of the Torah, y'all. Deborah was. And she was operating in righteousness. She was operating in righteousness in order. So she's like the only, how many millions of Israelite women existed during the span of the whole Bible? She's the only exception to the whole rule. And there's always some woman that thinks that they're the exception, that they are the Deborah of their generation. They don't study Torah. They don't got a man. So it's just them and God. God is her head. God, the Lord spoke. Nah, Most High operation order. If he got the man, so he's just going to bypass Adam and go to Eve. So this woman had to be the exception to the rule on so many levels. All right, go ahead. So it says the woman not teach, nor to have authority over the man. Go ahead.
She is to keep silent, for Adam was formed first.
She is to keep silent. And now Paul is going to explain what we didn't even get to yet from Genesis. You thought that was for you? Paul's going to explain what we didn't even get to yet. So he said Adam was formed first. He says that the woman cannot exercise authority over the man, but to what?
She is to keep silent.
Be quiet and learn and listen. Because if you knew everything, you'd have everything, and you'd be able to give everything. In this walk, I'm talking about the Bible. You may know everything that there is to know on your job. You may know everything that you need to know in your career field, but this ain't that. This is a whole different ball. This ain't of the white man. This ain't of his political, government, or economic structure. This can be enacted anywhere on the planet Earth right now. It can be lived anywhere right now. No modification. You can pick us up right now, drop us off anywhere with our books, and we be straight as men. You as a woman wouldn't. The white man is giving you the illusion that you are invulnerable. He's giving you that illusion. But in a dog-eat-dog world, it is the man. It is the man that Yahweh made that is in charge of protecting the Garden of Eden. That is in charge of making sure that people understand and know how to live the words in his Bible. I read.
For Adam was formed first.
Adam was created first. Read.
Then Eve.
Then Eve was made. Go ahead.
And Adam was not deceived.
Adam wasn't deceived. The serpent did not trick Adam. Who tricked Adam? His own woman. That's why you get cramps. An elephant or a water buffalo or a giraffe or a dog or a cat, they give birth, they don't skip a beat, right? The mother cow, she walking and then she push out her little calf and lick them off and boom, keep on going. What's for dinner? It's the human woman. It's the human woman, the creature on the planet Earth that caused the whole earth to be set on a different course. And you act like we all just supposed to sweep that under the rug and just listen to you. Let you be the one that gives the okay for what needs to be done. We tried that, it didn't work. So the scripture says that Adam was not deceived. Go ahead. But the woman, go ahead,
was deceived.
She was the one that got the deception. The woman was the one that was deceived. Go ahead.
And became a transgressor.
And she's the one that did the wrong from Adam. Adam listened to the woman, but everybody disobeyed the Most High. But she said, oh, just try it. This a birdie told me. Serpent told me, if this is the real story. And that's the same thing now. The Anunnaki got the real truth. The Anunnaki in Leela. The Ifa got the real truth. African spirituality is the real truth. Yoruba is the real truth. The Ifa is the real way we're supposed to be doing it. Calling on the spirits is the real way. The book of Enoch, the book of Jubilee, the book of Jasher, that's the truth. So that same Eve is on all of her sons now. Always looking for something new outside of what Yahweh said to do to give you some type of extra leniency to do it your way as opposed to his way. He told you how to do it. Read.
Yet she will be saved through childbearing.
Through what?
Childbearing.
Through childbearing. She will be saved in childbearing. Let me break part of that down. Part of that down is that she's taking on the childbearing. What is the childbearing? The childbearing is a culmination of her submitting to Adam and Adam having a full rulership over her. And he plants his seed inside of the woman. So now she's taking on that full punishment that was put on Eve. And now she's fully biologically, psychologically put herself in a more redemptive mindset. Because a woman's mindset does indeed change after she has a child. Especially if that man is there when those children are born and is active in their lives. It's a whole different chemical exchange, whole different set of pheromones, whole different set of endorphins, whole different hormone release. It's a whole different biology. And a woman gains more respect and appreciation for the man, and the man definitely walks away with more respect and appreciation for the woman in her office as a woman, and the pain, the threshold that she has to endure when she has that baby. You can tell me when I'm lying. And then that's why I'm gonna tell y'all something. And you got to excuse my French. If I'm not on no old Prince type stuff, like if I was your girlfriend or whatever, but let me tell you this. Let me not even say but if a son or a daughter talk back to their mother, that mother has every right to slap the shit out of that child. No questions asked. Because she the one that carried your big ass for 8, 9, 7 months sometimes and pushed you out. And if you're a woman, you know that's what you got is what you came through. See, a man can't understand necessarily like a woman. That's where you came from. And for you to sit back and think you're gonna tell that woman what you're gonna do and not gonna do, and you're not gonna do it the way that she's telling you to do it and challenge her, that woman got every right to slap the taste out of your mouth. To slap you into last week and next week, and slap you into 2 hours into the future. Because you wasn't there. You didn't hear all the screaming. You didn't see all the blood. You wasn't there. You didn't hear the crying. You didn't see the swelling. The swelling, you didn't see it. All them pushes to get your behind into this world, and your gratitude is you can't tell me what to do. The hell she can't. And now you gonna act like you can just go on and do what you want to do, and she ain't got no say so in it. But I'm telling you, even the scripture says that if your mother feeling slighted or disrespected by you, you bring a curse into your life. So don't listen to nobody telling you to go against your mother or to turn your back on your mother. Because every grown adult that their mother was there for them when they go through their hard times. Every adult. It ain't an adult on this planet that wish they didn't have their mother with them in the decisions and the choices they make in life. Even me, as a 52-year-old man. All right? So don't listen to nobody talking to you against your mother, man. Because the scripture says that your mother, how you treat your mother, you will bring a curse on you and your little family you're trying to put together. All right? When you go into the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 3, it says, for Yahweh has given the father of honor over the children, right? Honor your father and your mother, right? So the father has honor over the children. That's in a supervisory context. And that's also in I deserve for you to honor me. Because bottom line is, the father is the seed that every child comes from. Okay? And has confirmed the authority. Authority also, it says that it's going into the word judgment. Is this the one for Sirach right here? Is this for Sirach? No. Is that one? Sirach. Yeah. Let's see what it says in here. Because you don't understand the level of respect that you got to have for your father, for your mother, your father too. But that mother, you don't understand what that woman went through to bring you into this world. I'm talking to everybody, male and female. So this one is even more clear. It says, I say more clear because the King James has a note inside of it that this word authority is supposed to be judgment. But inside of the Lexham English Septuagint, it has the word judgment. It says, for Yahweh honors a father over his children. That's even more clear. And he establishes Yahweh. Listen what he said. Yahweh establishes the judgments of a mother over her son. So with your mother, when you start to act a certain way and respond a certain way to your mother, and she start to think them things in her mind that you causing her to think because you being disrespectful of her, toward her, those judgments, Yahweh activates in your life. Yahweh activates it in your life. So it says, the one who glorifies his mother. And a lot of you, your relationship with your woman is suffering because your relationship with your relationship with your wife is suffering because your relationship with your mother. All right. So it says, and the one who glorifies his mother is like one who stores up treasure. All right. The one who honors his father will be cheered by children. So I was going to bless you with children when you honor your father and your mother. And the one who glorifies his mother is like the one who stores up treasure. That's a high level of wisdom when you honor your mother. High level of wisdom. It could be your mother. It could be your mother-in-law. It could be your grandmother. And if your mother's passed away, hey, we all got mothers that you could be a son or a daughter to. There's no shortage of mothers in the world. Pick you one and respect them and treat them as your mother. And if your mother be on some next stuff and is on some crazy type stuff and just is off, respect her, but also find another woman that's in your mother's age or older that you can show that same type of respect and courtesy to, not giving her the same authority over your life that you give your mother, your biological mother, but just to be able to fulfill this level of wisdom. All right. And it say what? Listen what he said. One who glorifies his mother will be like one who stores up treasure, and he will be heard in the day of his prayer. But the thing is that, are you the type of mother that is going to make this an easy process? And that's why Amalia read earlier that in Titus chapter 2, you have to learn how to be a mother. You have to be guided how to be a mother. Because you're going through all of this for the first time, and there's somebody in your family that went through it more than you. All right? So the maternal instinct, and if that maternal instinct do not get directed toward a if that maternal instinct does not get directed toward a child, guess who's going to get directed toward? Can you guess? The husband. It's going to get directed toward, now you're going to start talking to him like he's your baby, because you got to put that energy into where it's supposed to go, which is a child, not a grown man. But that frustration of non-compliance is natural in a woman, but it's supposed to be connected with that woman and that child, especially that boy child, because he's the one that's going to go out in society and either make this woman a single mother or make this woman make her, as they say, make a good woman out of her. He's the one that decides. Because the Bible says that a daughter will receive every man. And every woman at a certain point of time is going to start to compromise outside of the Torah. Get them the ugliest man that's out there just because, oh, he got security. But can't tell you nothing back in the day. Couldn't tell you nothing back in the day. Right? You either had the guy with the, let's go back, either the Range Rover and then the big body Benz, or if you old enough, the Jetta with the BBSs, with the BBS rims on it. All right? So the scriptures say your prayer will be heard when you honor your mother. The one who honors his father will have length of days. And the one who listens to Yahweh will give what? Rest to his mother. Give rest to your mother. Meaning, comfort your mother's spirit. Comfort her mind. Give her rest. So everybody's supposed to be working toward that goal. Yeah, my mother's married. My mother has a house or whatever, right? But in my mind, I got to be preparing if this is the necessary case that I literally have to give her some place to rest, as well as mother-in-law. All right. So then the scripture says, and he who serves as masters those who engendered him. Anybody know what that means? Who know what that means? Raise your hand. So, and he who serves as masters, meaning you serve those who engendered you as your masters. What does that mean? That's a noun. I need a sentence. Serve your parents as masters. Serve your parents as masters. This is the book of wisdom we're living from. How you gonna serve? Now, this is voluntary. This is voluntary. I don't know why I said voluntary. This is voluntary. Because in America, you don't got to do this. But in some countries, that's why Paul said, if you got a widow, you ain't helping that widow, it's like you an infidel. It was a big thing in the ancient world, in the Mediterranean region, not to show honor and reverence and respect to your parents, especially when they were in need, to your family, especially when they were in need. Like when we was like some places you go to, you don't see people really sleeping on the streets. You don't see a lot of homelessness. And if you do see people homeless, like remember the guy in Central America, he was just like, he was very mentally unstable. Walk around barefoot, big dude, barefoot, pants messed up, no shirt, you know. But listen to this. Nobody's ever crazy enough to walk into moving traffic. So you ain't crazy is a myth. It's spirits. Who have you ever seen crazy? What crazy? Is there any epidemic of people getting of people getting mental illnesses where they just don't stop when cars are coming? You ever heard of that? Is the highways flooded of people just walking into the streets, highways and crossing major intersections? All right. So then it says what? Honor your father in deed and word, so that a blessing may come upon you from him. For the blessing of a father strengthens the homes of the children. Now, this is the part I'm getting at. Everybody hear that, right? The father is the one that's trying to make sure your home is established in righteousness. But the curse of a mother uproots the foundation. So when you make yourself in a position to where your mother feel like how you coming at her or how she need to come at you is in a way of a curse, a negative feeling, a negative expectation, just bad vibes, the scripture says that your house is going to become uprooted. That's why if a woman and a man don't respect the mother and their father, there will never be peace in that house. A lot of people hold grudges and resentment against their parents, against their mothers, against their fathers. You should have done this. You should have done that. When I was small, you bringing a curse on yourself, man. Watch and wait or repent. Them are the two options. Watch and wait and see the judgment of the Most High, or repent. It says, do not glory in the dishonor of your father. Meaning what? I'm glad he got caught I'm glad he got arrested. I'm glad he finally blah, blah, blah. Something dishonorable happens in him. It said, don't glorify in that. For the glory is not toward dishonor for you. For glory is not toward dishonor for you. So that you don't get no glory when you show dishonor towards your father. For the glory of a person comes from the honor of his father. And again, and a mother in disgrace is a reproach for children. That's why they had that song back in the day that said, you know, your mother is a substance abuse worker. All right. So the mother has to be portraying herself or portándose, conducting herself, carrying herself in a way that's honorable, without reproach. Now, this is a key one. I'm gonna stop on this. It says, child, help your father in his old age. How many of you, if your father needed help, and this is usually when they have health problems, right, will turn your backs on their fathers? If I was your father and I needed help, or if you were my sibling and our father needed help in his old age, would you turn your back, or would you give it? What you gonna do? Help your father in his old age and do not grieve him in his life. Meaning what? Help him while he's alive and he's older and going through life changes. That's the time when he needs your help. And your mother also. But in a lot of situations, the father usually needs a lot of help. Because if I'm not mistaken, a lot of times, I know in my own personal family and in my household family, it's been the grandfathers that passed away before the grandmothers. But when the grandfather's older, if you help him, get the grandchildren, let them, play with the grandchildren and talk with them and stuff, that can help rejuvenate. Okay? That can help rejuvenate. So then it says, do not grieve him in his life. So help him. Same thing with the mother. Your mother's older, health is failing. The scripture says to help her. And that's why you got to be careful, because people will have good intentions, but give you the wrong advice. They can mean well and be like, oh, your ain't nothing wrong with your father. He can take care of himself. He still got your mother. But that ain't what the scripture says. You got to do what the scriptures say to do, even if it doesn't make sense to you, or even if you don't think that is necessary. You got to do what the scripture says to do for that situation, for your household. All right, where you at now?
1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15.
Verse 15. Let's end in 15. And we're going to pick up from 16. No, you're in 15. You read 14. And you read part of 15 through childbirth. We're going to go and break that down a little more through childbirth. Through childbirth, we got to go deeper into that to explain. That's how the woman gets in order, and that's how the woman gets preserved. All right, we all died through Eve. Sirach 25 and 25 and 24. That's who the sin came through. So I think understanding the family dynamics, understanding the family basics, where it all starts, what is the perspective of holy men about marriage, what was their mentality, that should help create and mold your mentality about marriage. And you have to become a new creature in the process of talking about all of this. You got to become a new creature. We can't just keep doing it your way, because that's going to end up bad, Tawana. That's going to end up bad. You can't do it your way, because your way is not the way of the Most High. All right? The beginning of sin was from the woman, and because of her, we all died. We all died. We read that last time when we talked about give the water no outlet. We read about all of that. And the order that the woman is supposed to have within a family structure. Even if it's not a husband type of wife situation, even you need to belong to a part of a righteous household. All right, a righteous household. When you go into different countries, they have villages, and these villages have a headman, and that headman determines, what's going to be done, what direction they're going to be taken, and all this and that. So your woman, and how can I put this? Let me put it this way: a woman and a man were not. A woman and a man in our society were not created to get their fullness, maybe completeness, but not their fullness from just being around each other. That's why it tells the woman, you got to learn from the older woman. And that's why it tells the men, you got to learn from the brother's teaching. It always talks about community engagement of the male and female. And if it's all male, guess what? You can be straight with all males, but if it's all females, that's a recipe for disaster. So the female gets injected with knowledge from the man, like Adam was the head over Eve. She takes the information. She's tried it, lived it, and then she gives it to the younger women. If you do that, you have a whole generation of righteous men and women serious about the Most High, intelligent, and able to operate in society under Yahweh's rules. But a man cooped up and a woman cooped up with somebody that's the polar opposite of you, that is not natural. That's not natural. That's not the way the Most High made it to be. Not when you're a grown person. And that's why you got men and women that, so when you look at other countries, when you go outside of America, other countries, they naturally gravitate with the man and a woman. But you cooped up under your woman all day, you're going to pick up feminine attributes. You're picking up feminine pheromones. You're picking up feminine chemicals that she's giving off. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you got to be able to balance it out. What did Yahweh tell Amaria? What did Yahweh tell Moses about their women before they came to Mount Sinai? What did he say? What did he say? He said, come not near your woman, your women. If being around a woman does not have any effect on your endeavors for righteousness or to be holy, why did Yahweh tell Moses, why did Moses tell us, man, in this process, I need you not to go near your woman? Why do boxers stay away from their wives when they go into battle? Why did soldiers stay away from their wives when they go into battle? Because the woman's body, her energy, her chemicals, her pheromones affect the man's mind. And when he receives that woman and takes that woman unto himself and releases his energy, Yahweh said, now you've changed so much. Both of y'all are unclean. Go wash up. And when the sun goes down, then you'll be clean again. Because it changes your status with the Most High. So if that's all you have and you're not making yourself clean and you're not making yourself holy to Yahweh at least once a week, which is the Sabbath day, the right way, then believe me, that's why a lot of brothers that's quote unquote in the truth ain't keeping these commandments. Why? Because their woman is subconsciously dominating over them and they think that they the one calling the shots and they not. They're not calling the shots. The woman is calling the shots. She's ruling through the man. And it's a very subtle trick. And if you're not careful of it, you'll fall into it also. All right. So the Most High said, hey, you guys, I want y'all to come near this mountain. Moses said, be ready against the third day. Yahweh said to Moses said, go down. Moses said, be ready against Moses said to the people, be ready against the third day. Come not at your wives. Come not at women. So keep your distance from women. Menstruating women, you pick up a lot of negative energy. That's why Ezekiel, as a priest in Babylon, said, I've not come near a menstruous woman. Why would he say that in Babylon when the temple was destroyed if it only depended on the temple being there? Why? Why would he make a big deal out of it? Ezekiel. No, this is Yahweh talking to Ezekiel in captivity. Listen what Yahweh said. If a man be just and do that which is lawful and right. Let's break that down. So in Babylon, in captivity, Yahweh expected the children of Israel to do whatever was lawful and whatever was right. We see that. what is lawful, and what is right. Furthermore, he says, and has not eaten upon the mountains. What's he talking about? Eating on the mountains, Amaria. Zayatan, what's he talking about? Having eaten on the mountains. Huh? That's a sin? That's wrong? So what's he talking about? What's he talking about? Zayatan or Maria. People go to the mountains to worship the idols, go to the grove of the trees, not the olive trees, groves, but just, trees and worship. He says, neither lifted up his eyes to the idols of the house of Israel. Wow, Israel has their own personal idols, huh? Neither has defiled his neighbor's wife, neither has come near a menstruous woman. Why is Yahweh talking to Ezekiel about not coming near a woman on her period if they're in Babylon, in captivity, in the land of the Chaldeans? It says, I saw a vision on the 5th day of the month. This was the 5th year of the captivity of King Jehoiakim. And the word of Yahweh came to Ezekiel, son of Buzi, the priest in the land of the Chaldeans at the Kabar River. So Ezekiel is among the captives in Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar. Why is Yahweh talking about a menstruous woman if it only is relevant to the temple? Because I saw the breakdown. That's what IUIC was teaching. I saw the breakdown myself several years ago. That's what they were teaching. Oh, it's only because of the temple, so a woman can come now. Well, Ezekiel was, this is Babylon. Well, hold on. Wait. How can it be Babylon? And Ezekiel, Yahweh is talking to Ezekiel about a woman on her cycle in Babylon, but you're saying that it only applies to the temple. So then he said, and has not oppressed any. Oh, so that applies outside of Israel. I still can't oppress people in America. Okay. But has restored to the debtor his pledge. Oh, we was doing pledging and loans in captivity also. Okay. Has spoiled none by violence. Oh, so it wasn't just the wild, wild west because we was in Babylon. Okay. Has given his bread to the hungry. Oh, even though I'm poor, I'm in captivity, I still got to give my bread to people that's hungry. Okay. And covered the naked with a garment. Now that covering the naked with a garment should immediately take us to the book of Tobit, who we see again in captivity, keeping the commandments, keeping the holy days, and has not given forth upon usury, neither has taken increase, has withdrawn his hand from iniquity, no sin even in captivity. Verse 9, has walked in my statutes and kept my judgments. Kept the judgments of the Most High in Babylon. And you got people that'll fight you because you're saying we got to keep the commandments in captivity. Why? Because they don't read the Bible. Don't read. I mean, when you go, even when the Most High told them whether Israel, whether they hear or forbear, go to the children of the captivity and tell them this is what Yahweh said. Ezekiel chapter 5, verse we won't go too deep into it now. So the point is that if the Most High puts a distinction between a woman when she's clean and unclean. So if you as a man are just sitting up under that woman when she's on her cycle, don't think that it's not affecting your spirit, man. So if you are a woman and you know you got a strong personality, do us all a favor. Seclude yourself during that time of the month. Please. Please. I was looking at a show. I don't know if it was a show, and it was an African show. I forget what the name of it was. Bad Influencers on Netflix. It was bad. Was that a movie or a series? I think it was a movie. It was Bad Influencers anyway. Bad Influencers. So the girl was like, "Why are you acting like this? Why are you saying this? Are you on your period?" So women know, but they try to act like a man. Oh no, I'm straight, and then turn it back. Oh God. A woman knows. And you know how you feel when you stub your toe, when you bump your head. And you know it's gonna fade away in about what, 2 minutes, 3 minutes maybe. But you're talking about what, 2-3 days of maybe 3 to 4 days of strong, painful experiences. So now getting back, the man and woman, the Most High said that let every man have his woman, but he used it in the Greek word that's only for him. And let every woman have her own husband. And Paul used the Greek word that is a collective possession. An example, let every man have his own what? Let every man have his own heart. That's his heart. And let every woman have her own country. It is her country, but other people can have that country too, right? So this is what Paul says. So when you have, more than one member in your country, if one person in the country can't do that job, then it's a wrap. It's a wrap. Can't do the job. Let's not even say heart, let's say brain. But what happens when the brain can't do its job? It's a wrap. But in the country, if one person can't do the job in the country, got somebody else to do the job. That's why sometimes Adam or man, through Yahweh's benevolence and his wisdom, his eternal wisdom, gave the man the option to have more than one helper. Because Adam had already done the hard part when Eve was made. But it would have maybe gone, I don't know how it would have gone with or without Eve's participation. But once the job is done, all right, now Eve comes on the scene once he named all the creatures. All right. So I think what we're gonna do, because I can go on and on. The sister said, my mother labored for me for 18 hours. Dad is the king, at least in my family, and he's the oldest member of the family. Everyone defers to him. That's what you call a patriarchy, and that's rare in a lot of families. Usually it's the woman, the mother, that's the last one of that original generation. Okay, so abruptly, everybody, we're gonna shut down. You got any questions or comments, anything you want to talk about, you can hit me on the inbox. All right, shalom.